Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the TC Roundtable podcast. This is the 17th podcast. Everyone say congratulations. Clap for us, actually. I am your host, Artesians. I'm the head of Theorycrafting at KeqingMains, and I help run one of the largest guide resources and theorycrafting resources for Genshin Impact. I'm joined here today by Ayzel, a staff member and former lead theory crafter for KeqingMains. Say hi, Ayzel.
Hello, everyone.
Amazing. And then I'm also joined here today by Tenten, who was not here last time, our resident Xiangling enjoyer. Say hi, Tenten.
I'm not a Xiangling salesman.
Okay.
That is wrong.
Yeah, and Zajef's not a Bennett salesman. It's okay.
He's a team salesman.
Our final member of today's podcast, our special guest, Braxophone. He's our resident Yoimiya stan. Say hi, Brax.
Hi, Brax.
Okay. Yeah, you say that. We have secret agents outside your house.
Yeah, no, I had to make sure.
All right. So, let's start off in a similar note from last week. How's everyone doing? You guys just got back from San Diego, right? For TwitchCon? How was that?
Yep. It was cool. The con itself was pretty lame, I think. But it's mostly just hanging out with people. Like I don't know a good amount of Genshin creators. There were some that I was hoping to see, but I couldn't find, unfortunately, because like San Diego is pretty big and everyone's like doing their own things.
Mm-hmm. I saw.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it kind of felt like so when I went to PAX, it kind of felt like a networking convention. Except I think that, and when I went here, it felt similar. Except the one difference was that like it wasn't just like big creators trying to network. It was kind of like everyone. And it made it really hard to keep track of everyone because like people are just all over the place. But it's fun.
I've heard that, or on Twitter, I saw. I think Atsu, he commented that everyone was like clout chasing and trying to climb the ladder and stuff and trying to reach out.
I think that's the VTuber drama that's going on. I actually didn't know what it is. I heard about the VTuber drama. I have no idea either.
I have not.
I'm almost certain he's talking about the VTuber. Oh yeah, there's insane amount of drama. Like you learn like, oh, this creator behind the scene is like what, this creator behind the scene is like what.
You know,
and I'm not gonna name who.
If there's anything I've learned over the last month about Twitch streamers is that you guys are all psychopaths. I swear to God.
Yeah, true. And I'm talking about like, I'm not talking about the Genshin creators, just in case. I'm talking about like the actual big creators that not named.
Mm-hmm.
I think within the Genshin circle, it's not that bad. To be like,
other than that, the only thing I've really heard about it is people breaking like their legs and like their backs, just jumping into a foam pit.
Yeah, I guess I'll give a short summary.
Did you see
there
that?
was the foam pit incident. There were a lot of parties that was going on, but at every single party, some Sasuke thing was going on. Like at a certain party, a lot of mostly dealing with females. At a certain party, a lot of females have their phone actively being yoinked. And at a different certain party, a lot of female were having their drink actively being spikes.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't go into too much detail about those. But
I think it's on
I
Twitter.
do think there's a lot of there's definitely a lot of behind the scenes stuff that creators like try to avoid talking about, and I honestly think that some of it should be avoided because like a lot of it is just things that people don't need to know, but there is a lot of it that I feel like is just kind of waiting to explode at any given moment, and I think TwitchCon was definitely a hub for that to grow a little bit closer. So
I mean, we kind of saw it like across the last couple of weeks, all over like Reddit and like Twitter and stuff. But I don't know. TwitchCon was fun. Was San Diego fun? Did you guys do anything super cool?
we wanted to go to San Diego Zoo, but we never found time.
Sad.
Mostly hang out with I got to hang out with a lot of the non-Genshin creators that kind of like have that I kind of know, which is cool because otherwise like I didn't really hang out with them. Like when I went to AX, I just did Genshin things. When I go to like anime NYC, I just did Genshin thing. But this time, like I did non-Genshin thing, which is cool.
I saw you got to talk to one of your Lost Ark viewers. That was
Yeah,
cool.
I actually mostly just spend my time with either the Lost Ark groups or like TFT groups.
That's interesting.
All right.
Okay. And on other news, at least in Genshin, how are you guys doing with the story? Any progression at all, Ayzel? Computer fixed at
I
all?
actually did play the story.
That's
I
nice.
actually did get to Act 2. So I am no longer the person on the podcast who has not played Genshin.
Amazing.
Oh, when is
And-
the banner coming out? I just checked. Friday, right? I don't even know when the banner is coming.
I don't remember either.
It say 2 days and 20 hours, so I think that's Friday.
I'm
I
not
actually
sure,
don't know what time comes out on Asia, but I do believe it's Friday for NA.
I'm
yeah,
trolling.
Yeah, the current banner ends in 2 days, 20 hours. So last chance for Cyno, Venti, Gandis, Kuki,
Candy's nuts.
or Elegy and Staff of Scarlet Sands. How are you guys enjoying it? At least I know Ayzel might be liking it.
I think that I'm not quite like completely caught up on the story. I think the writing definitely was better for Simru so far than Inazuma, so I've been enjoying that. But to be honest, I've kind of had trouble like finding a reason to play. Like I've just been kind of logging in and like leveling my characters, and now I'm like, I mean, that other post was made that we'll talk about a little bit later. Or that interview thing happened, and now I'm kind of not really motivated to like do anything in the game. I don't know.
Oh no.
But I think the patch overall is like a good patch. I think it's just external things.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm trolling.
You're always trolling, Tenten.
I'm
I was actually trolling. I can't.
I'm what?
I can't.
We can't.
Wait, what am I missing?
You tell us, then. What are you missing?
What?
There's a
This
new
is so-
boss in Sumeru?
There are a lot of new bosses in Sumeru.
There's apparently a boss called Arrow Blink. Drake. I am farming Hydro Hypostasis for Nilou because I assume she's gonna use that. Apparently not.
Okay. All right. How about you, Tenten? Are you enjoying Sumeru more than Inazuma, at least?
I don't know. I didn't play. I just TC'd it. I just TC'd it. Cyno drama reacted. Went to San Diego for TwitchCon.
Yeah, you've just been farming drama on Twitter.
I've been farming drama. Okay, I'll be honest. I was farming drama. It was like no flame. Like I know a lot of the thing I was doing might be kind of flamey, but I was just generally like fucking meme posting and having fun with it.
No, it was funny, bro. I
It's
enjoyed
funny, right? Okay, I mean it's kind of funny, but some people like might not see it as funny. So I'm gonna make a quick clarification.
Okay.
I
I mean, Inazuma definitely was, called dark, mysterious. So, I mean, Sumeru is definitely a bright patch, definitely brighter, literally. So,
I don't know how to get to the boss. Help.
Oh my god.
No.
Please help.
No
and then
helpers.
Brax, how would you really quick describe yourself as a player? Like more casual sided, more hardcore focused, maybe you dabble a little bit in theory crafting, or how would you describe yourself at least?
I think that I mean I definitely when I play the video game, I definitely just turn off my brain.
Mhm.
When I'm making a video, I try to take it really seriously because like I don't want to well, not all my videos, obviously some of them are just like whatever the fuck I want to upload, but when I'm uploading like an educational video, like I try to take it seriously. So like in my clips and stuff, I'll try to like actually do the right rotation, play the game seriously, make the teams look good, etc., etc. But like when I'm on stream, I'm Pepeka as fuck. And I think it's mostly just because I think that trying too hard in a PvE game for me is not something I've always enjoyed. I like hitting big numbers, but I'm more in it for like that one moment of big number rather than like consistently like perfect play and stuff, because like I have no one to compete with. I'm like a really competitive person, but when the only competition is myself, it's like, for why?
So would you say you're an enjoyer of Eula?
Why?
I would argue I'm not as much a Eula enjoyer. I don't think I've used her since 1.6.
Okay, bro. Anyway, so you said you've kind of like lost motivation to kind of play the game, and you consider yourself like kind of competitive, but only towards yourself and like your own damage. And
I would say, I think that I'm not competitive with myself. I'm a competitive player, and so like I live for PvP and PvEVP, which is like I raid in like Final Fantasy and Destiny and stuff. Just because it's like I think that's fun because it's like cooperative.
Wait, you
but
play
also
Destiny?
can be competitive. I did play Destiny. I don't play it anymore. I don't have time. It was fun though. I think the raids were really good. But yeah, so I think with Genshin, the demotivating part was that like Abyss is fun, but like who am I comparing myself to for content? Like what is the purpose of trying to clear Abyss faster? Like I already know, like I have a C6 Miko, like I can clear Abyss like really fast. It's just like, what is the purpose of trying to go faster than that? Why am I farming if there's not going to be any other thing for me to challenge myself in? Especially considering like Abyss, they are trying to make it harder, but they're not making the characters better. So it's kind of, well, not as of 3.1 at least. So it's kind of like, for why am I alive? For what purpose?
Would you say that there's like a pretty large disconnect between like you and Genshin right now? How does that like impact your content at all?
Part of that was just because I was moving, but I think I definitely can still be excited to make a video. Like I'm working on a couple of things right now, but I definitely don't feel as attached to like YouTube and streaming at all. And I think it's hard to get reattached to that when there's not a lot to talk about other than drama. Like I made my most recent video, I was talking about, you know, kind of the interview thing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even unpacked. I dug my microphone out of a box the day my internet got set up, and I just talked at it, and then I sent it to someone, and I was like, "Hey, could you cut this up?" And that was it. And since that video, I've kind of just been like, I don't want to farm drama. Like, I don't want my content to be drama content. I think every once in a while, it's like, it's fun to just put out a quick video that's just me talking about things and my opinion on them. I think that's like a fun video for me. But at the same time, I think that like drama farm is not very fun. And that's kind of what Genshin is right now. There's not like a whole lot of content you can make outside of opinions on the current state of the game, because there's nothing going on in the game just at the moment other than like lore.
And I guess this question is for like all of us. What do you guys like think your intended audience is like for your content? And then I suppose like how different do you think that is towards like, I don't know, maybe the majority?
That's a good question. I think about it all the time. I have no idea. I have no idea why my chat exists. KeqW. Now, I think for YouTube, the way I like to see it is like, not everyone. A lot of people like kind of care about the Genshin Impact meta to some degree. Maybe they don't care like the full extent about it, but they probably care to some degree. But A like doesn't know how to find it, or B like doesn't know how to read like the super detailed Theorycrafter. Oh, this team XMH stuff. So the way I kind of think about it now is like I just try to digest it, not yawning, okay? Digest it for like okay, as a person, here's how I would read the information that was pushed out by the top Theorycrafter, and they can go from there on.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like, I think that in the early days, at least from what I know, a lot of like why you got big on your channel was you did a lot of like, this is what the CN community thinks of this character, or this is what the CN community is doing. So I guess that's kind of continuation of, I guess, like interpreting the information that other people have produced in a more digestible manner, whether that be literally just translating it into English or just taking information that is not easily understandable by the general audience, just because a lot of TC information, not only is it sometimes badly explained, but it's also very hard to find, because so much of our information is not stuff that we like put on our website, right? It's stuff that's buried deep in like someone's like Discord DMs, or it's someone put together a sheet but they haven't posted it publicly, because a lot of theory crafters don't like to put out their work publicly, whether they feel that it would be misinterpreted, or they don't want to be subject to criticism or whatever. But a lot of our stuff is hard to find. It's very like difficult for the general audience to get a grasp on what's going on in TC. So I guess that is an important role to play. Basically, yoink crafting good.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think. I think people over are it's what okay, it is like yoink crafting, but I honestly think people like underestimate yoink crafting. Here's the way I would put it. It's like, imagine your science teacher is teaching you about gravity, right? Did you think he discovered gravity or invented gravity? No, he just know the theory, but like he can still kind of teach you about it and he can learn from there, you know? Like I feel like there's like this hot take is like, just because you're not the person who initially like discovered doesn't mean you can't learn the application of it. And it's mostly the application that matter.
I think a lot of people that also like make this stuff also don't really like. I think a lot of them actually want people to cover that work. So I find it really interesting because sometimes you'll get people in like comment sections and stuff kind of talking about like, oh, you don't even do your own TC, but like you could have literally talked to the person who did the TC and been like, and like ask questions and inform.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of you didn't even discover gravity, so how can you teach me about gravity or like talk about gravity?
Exactly.
True. How can you talk about who Tao's animation cancels if you're not me?
Oh my god, I'm dead.
They're mine.
Okay, I feel like here's a funny thing. I wish Zajef was here. And that is like, I feel like this topic came up a while back, and that was like, do you really? It was like, because one of the thing that I try to do is like, oh, this character isn't that strong, might not be worth your money, right? And then there was this topic come up like, do you think people really care about that aspect? And at the time, I said yes. Even though like other people were like Zajef say like no, I think Zajef would say like no. So if I'm quoting him wrong, apologize, okay? And here's an interesting aspect at every convention I go to, like ANYC, AX, and like even TwitchCon. It's always the artists that come out and told me they enjoy my content. So from that perspective, you can see like someone who might not be super into mathematic heavy can still appreciate TC content. And I thought about it why, and I was like, you know, the artist probably doesn't need me to tell them like about this design perspective. They draw the arts, they draw the boobers, they probably know all about the character design themselves. What I don't understand is the character's strength. So because they're artists, they're so attached to the character design that they're like, oh my god, this character looks so good, I should pull him. And then someone come in and be like, okay, you like the design, that's fine, but how about his character strength? And then they're like, oh yeah, wait, this character is actually not that strong. I'm actually not going to play it, so I shouldn't pull it, right? There's a huge, I'll be honest right now, you guys might not realize this, and I didn't realize it. There's a huge amount of artists who come up and told me I actually unironically saved them money. And I actually thought about this even deeper after that. I'm like, think about how many characters you own right now on your account, and think about how many of them you actively play. Let's say you own 25 characters in your account. Well, I own like every single characters as a content creator, but let's say you own half of the available characters in Genshin. Let's say 25. How many of them do you actually play? Do you rotate through every single character every day?
Yes.
Some characters that you're bound to probably end up not playing as like a teapot characters, kind of like a bench characters, right? And so rolling for those characters might just be not worth it. Not because they're like not the strongest, but because you stop playing them and they might as well like just not be very useful for your account.
And we should just delete them.
I would say like, as a hot take, most people who own let's say 25 plus characters probably doesn't play half of them.
For me, who's been like involved in the community for a really long time. Like if we go back to like 1.4, I think there was no place to really read like guides on like anything. For Ganyu, like there was nothing. Like you would go to like Genshin.gg, open up a website, and there would just be like random garbage, right? And I've mentioned this before. For people who have been watching like the podcast for a very long time, they'll know that I am the person who really found out how internal cooldowns worked in Genshin. So what that means for people that don't know is that kind of kickstarted the ability for everyone to actually start playing the game correctly. Right after we found this out, Ganyu Melt appeared. Guides started being written for Ganyu, Zhao, Hu Tao, and then people just kind of generally started picking up on this as their favorite content creators started learning about like internal cooldowns or learning how to play the game just by word of mouth or sorry, hang on, there's like background noise. Hang on.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess continuing off of what Art was saying, yeah, there really weren't any kind of Genshin resources early on, and that's actually kind of why KeqingMains was started. Because it's like originally KeqingMains was really we are starting Theorycrafting based on the TCL Google Doc, which is this gigantic Google document that basically kept track of every single thing we found out about Theorycrafting in Genshin. Whether that be like how does electrocharged work, or some like esoteric mechanic about EM on Keqing, or like some calculation about EM on Keqing or Black Cliff on Keqing. Can you maintain stacks? How do stacks work on Black Cliff on Keqing? A lot of it was like Keqing focused, of course, because KQM and all that.
No, I mean like,
but
yeah. I didn't want to get into like the history or anything like that. It was just more like a bridge into like the idea that like the ideas from Theorycrafting that you might think like just kind of came from nowhere really did start off like this basic. How do elemental reactions work? That formula was found out in KQM, like on Discord, on Reddit, on NGA, right? These like basic ideas that like how people like kind of like the more, I don't know, engaged players end up learning how to use, like these ideas came from Theorycrafting is what I was trying to say. So it's been interesting to see from like the perspective of a guide writer or like someone who's been involved with this kind of stuff for a very long time to see how the perception of what Theorycrafting is has shifted, right? And yeah, I mean, this kind of leads us into like the territory of like meta and stuff like that. And I know Braxophone, you're a really big proponent of using units like Yoimiya. Right, and there's always like this push and pull between meta versus casual play, between players that enjoy playing the units that they like or pulling for units that give them the most value. And I think like some Genshin content creators might be like beholden to like what their audience thinks of them and what they think that you're going to say. And I know Tenten too also thinks about this. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
The interesting thing about you're absolutely right. First off, is like we definitely have to like kind of, well, I don't know. I think Tenten just says whatever the fuck Tenten wants, but like I kind of try to consider like how I frame
Politics
things. Because,
central.
to be honest, like between like when I message you guys, I will just say, oh no, this character's like doomed or whatever. Like I'll just say like, you know, fucking this character's shit. This character's awful. But when I say it to an audience, I kind of have to be mindful of like, okay, this character is shit, but like, do I need to say it in that way that might actually like make somebody like upset about it? Because like a lot of people get really attached to these characters. Is a thing that happens in gacha games a lot. And even if one person might think it's like kind of dumb that people do that, at the end of the day, it is kind of about making sure that everyone like is satisfied with the game. Like, I don't want anyone to like quit Genshin Impact because I call their character shit. And maybe I'm just like overly mindful because when I went to school for teaching, this is like something I had to be really mindful of, is like I need to be careful that I don't hurt anyone's feelings when they're trying to participate in activities. And so I do keep that in mind when I'm making my videos, but I will also just I'm not going to lie to you. Like, if a character's not as good, I'm going to say it. And I do have to deal with a lot of backlash from that because I do think my audience is bridged a lot more casual. But that said, you know, a lot of them are really understanding of like, character at this power level is not as good as a character at another power level, and they can deal with that. If I show them a way to play the less good character, usually that's enough for them to say, okay, I want this character or I don't want this character. And so I don't know. I guess I try to be like a voice. Not that anyone else isn't, but I try to be like a voice of reason for those who like want to play the character, even though they know the character isn't as good as others.
I'm lost. How did I get to this boss?
Oh my god.
Okay. No, I think
Perfect.
that makes sense, and that's always been, I think, well,
Like, some people
not
just
always.
straight up will say like
Oh god.
just don't play the character well. Like, there's people that will shit on people for wanting to play that character that's not as good, which I don't understand, but I think that's just the nature of the internet. So
I can say for at least KeqingMains, we've definitely shifted gears pretty hardcore towards making our content definitely more digestible for people. There's less lingo inside of our guides. There's less memes. It's pretty stock standard in terms of like what we want for from these guides to teach people. Teaching people like how to play their units is pretty important and stuff like that. And I don't know if I've ever felt that an audience has ever expected anything from me. I know that there used to be at least some people who would follow my Discord messages and post them around, but I think it's been relatively good recently. I think people kind of see KeqingMains as a pretty good bastion of like resources and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. There's just people looking to compete, I think, in PvE games, but it's like, because you can't compete in the game, they're looking to compete for knowledge outside of the game. It's like people make their own PvP.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll see people that are like, oh my gosh, like KQM is like so bad, lol. But it's like, KQM isn't really that bad. It's just that they disagree with something they said. And so like, I don't know. I guess it's my response to like your thing.
I think early on, like very, very early on, I think people like OKCode, XSlice, like had very nice things to say about KQM. But I haven't really kept a pulse on like everyone else. I don't really talk to any other Genshin content creators. Yeah.
I think also just kind of human nature is to like look towards new things. So if there are new groups of people that are doing TC, or just even people doing TC, I think that they tend to value those a little bit more if they are good at what they're doing, because it's like the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, KQM being 50 years old now, some people may be less inclined to immediately go to KQM as opposed to like other people, even if like KQM is like generally a really good resource.
I think for me personally, I don't particularly mind if people take from KQM. I mean, the information is put out there for people to discuss. It's a little bit more hard to say that when people do it with like they take entire segments from one of our guides, you know, read it word for word, no credit or whatever. But I think it's different like when people pick up on things like ICD or like how shield strength works occasionally, just how to like maximize your damage, how to optimize your stats, right? These are like ideas born out of like a lot of people's work.
Truly, CV is a good way to look at your character.
Fun fact, I made that
CV
term. I
CV
made that
was
term.
I'll be honest, I think CV has backfired too much.
So to explain this, you guys might not believe me, but I made crit value when I was talking to a Zhao main back in the day. And it was specifically for when our Zhaos were running with Bennett, how much crit did we have compared to each other, and like that's
Lament.
all we cared about. But yeah, I don't know. I think 2 episodes ago they might have screamed about crit value and how much of a bad metric it was.
I remember there's this chart explaining what CV is, and everyone cringe at it every time we see it now.
I mean, it's not too bad these days. I mean, I think people know, or people kind of know that you need attack.
No, I don't think people know, actually. I don't know.
Search of attack percent.
People know that you need it, but I don't think that they understand how close it is to.
I don't think
crit.
people need to know, to be honest with you. That like
That's kind of true.
you can optimize if you want, like you can throw it in optimizer, but like generally speaking, you really, if you're stacking like a ton of fucking crit, you're probably gonna do enough damage anyway. Like if you know enough about the game to be stacking crit, you're probably at the point where you might understand, but maybe not understand like to what extent.
That's fair. I think that the bigger issue isn't attack though. I think the bigger issue for people is elemental mastery and ER. Where they have too much of a focus on crit and then neglect ER, which I think for most players is probably a vastly more important stat than crit, because the ER requirements that we have out there are assuming that you play well. And I mean, I'm not saying that everyone plays badly, but people make mistakes in their rotations. And when you make mistakes in your rotations, like you forget to funnel Bennett into selling once, or you press Bennett E and then you get knocked over, and then Bennett absorbs his own particles instead of having them being absorbed by selling or something. Like enemies just knock you down sometimes, and then you need more ER than what we recommend. So like,
there's definitely like a lot less people that play optimally than we think. Like even I would say like even probably a lot of viewers of Tenten, Zajef, KQM probably don't even pay attention to like rotations. Like they like to know about them. It's fun to learn, but like okay, because I don't know. I was genuinely like super surprised when I was doing a stream, kind of like polling people on certain things, like kind of seeing how much they know just for fun. And a lot of people didn't know like rotations for like national and stuff. I mean, like it doesn't really matter as much because the team's just good anyways. But like, I would say it's definitely less than 1%. It might even be 0.1% of people actually cares about min-max to that degree.
Like there's no shot that there's like any sizable portion of the player base that is playing like at the level that they're optimizing their stats, pulling for weapons that are most optimal, pulling for high value constantly. Like there's no way. But I mean, kind of spinning off into that, there was the GameSpot interview. We talked about this last week, and I'll give another quick summary for those of you guys that might have missed it last time. There was an interview with GameSpot and another separate interview with IGN with MiHoYo developers through like an email correspondence. So take what you will from it. But one of the things that they expressed was that they're not interested in developing an endgame, that there is no like motive for MiHoYo currently to really explore more of their endgame, specifically towards combat. And yeah, how do you guys feel about it? Zajef last week said that he personally didn't like their excuse for it. He monetarily we understand that the bulk of like the revenue from Genshin Impact is probably coming from casual players that play less than like 30 minutes a day, that don't grind out every piece of content to get primo gems for their next pools or whatever, so they spend money. So yeah, how do you guys feel about endgame and Genshin in general?
Wish I didn't have the same.
Go ahead.
I'll go for it. Oh, no, you go for it.
Okay. I was gonna say, I wish I didn't have to spend money on the game to be a content creator because I have to make guides, right? Like the media server thing, it exists now, so like now technically I don't. But actually I do still, because the future media servers don't have the past characters on them if you skip them. So like I do have to own one of every character if I want to make sure I can cover all the content and all my bases. But like if it wasn't for that, and if I know this was like the direction they were gonna take, I definitely wouldn't have swiped for any characters. Because like there's no point. The game, a lot of people that say the game is easy actually don't even clear Abyss, but for people that know what they're doing, the game is easy, right? Like, especially if you're playing to abyss buffs, or if you're just constantly stacking and upgrading your national team, your taser, whatever new aggravate team, hyperbloom team, whatever's relevant in the abyss at the time. And it just makes me really sad because, like, I don't know, everything just kind of feels pointless. I know that's really doom posty, but like, I don't know. I've literally been playing Tower of Fantasy because, like, at least I have Endgame to grind towards on that game.
I pretty much agree with what Zajef say. Like, I kind of understand not adding combat endgame for monetized reason. I just really disagree with the excuse of excessive anxiety, because, like, if you don't want to do endgame, then just don't do it. But the biggest thing that really bothered me is, like, people would actually think it's okay for me, or people like shouldn't add endgame because they will have anxiety, and therefore should prevent other people from playing it as well. So that was the part that really, like, triggered me. But that being said, though, I think it is, to be honest, necessary for some kind of extreme endgame to exist. It kind of pretty much serve as a carrot in front of a donkey. Like, as pretty much what everyone would mention. Like, if endgame truly didn't exist, there would be no reason to ever do anything. So you wouldn't, like, lock it at all. But because some kind of endgame exists, potentially one that is, like, difficult to reach, there's always a carrot in front of the donkey for you to chase for. And that's the reason why you lock in and keep on farming artifact. It's like you're chasing those super extreme artifact, hoping that they'll be really good, or like for destroying, like, the next abyss or something like that. A lot of the common take that some people might say that also kind of is wrong, that I think is, like, Genshin Impact is easy, so therefore, like, the end game is whatever, or the meta is whatever. In precise, like, the statement of Genshin Impact endgame is so easy anyway that the meta doesn't need to exist, I actually actively disagree with that one. I think the Genshin Impact endgame is not that easy, first of all, and it's only quote unquote easy precisely because you play the meta. If you, like, didn't play the meta, it definitely is not easy. And
100%.
to me, in my kind of hot take perspective, oh my god, I walked into the Archon quest. In my hot take perspective, there's something called proof by counter positive, which is like, if A implied B, then not B implied not A. So if Genshin Impact endgame was easy, then everyone would be doing trophy 36R. But because the fact that not everyone, most people actually don't trophy 36R, then by proof by counter positive, Genshin Impact endgame is arguably not easy. I'm sure the people in this podcast know what proof by counter positive is.
Yes, I am a CS student.
I get what you're saying.
I understand as well. I think for me personally, I think I can get behind, like, a monetary idea, kinda. I really disagree with the idea that, like, adding an additional endgame would induce anxiety, just because it's, like, an optional endgame. For games like Arknights, for example, a lot of the added difficulty is through optional events like CCs, contract contingency events, where they're kind of like our old vagabonds, where, like, yeah, you kind of need to whale out and, like, go hard in the paint to clear it, but, like, you don't need anywhere near, like, the highest levels of investment and all the best units to, like, get all the rewards from it. And in fact, I don't even think, like, that event even has that many rewards in general. But I think, like, one of the reasons why, like, one of the arguments I would make for an endgame that a lot of people kind of brush over is that the community, the content creators, like, the things that generate, like, hype and buzz about the game for Genshin, kind of, like, they don't really actually need an endgame. They post a picture of a character that's coming out next patch, and it's trending for, like, weeks. There's art of it. There's people talking about it like crazy. But there's no point in any of that. Does anyone ever ask the question, like, oh, will Will Layla or Nahida, will they be able to clear the spiral abyss? Nobody gives a fuck about that. They just care about how cute it is. I think that's one of like the real striking differences between Genshin Impact and like other games. But I think one of the drawbacks to like just seeding all that ground forever is that the content creators that like are going to be promoting your game for the long term are getting bored, right? People are like, content creators will inevitably just kind of spread the idea that like, yeah, Genshin's boring, there's nothing to do. And I mean, like, you can open up OK Code stream, right? The man's farming for like 8 hours. no shade on Code, but like that's what he does. It's just like, it's just chatting with like an anime character in the background with some good music. But how many people can really do that every single day, right? How many people like Zajef can open up the abyss and just like grind it out, do random shit, do co-op TC, make their own challenges, right? How many people can do like the Genshin Championship, like the one Billy? I don't think they can actually do that for very long. I think that keeping like a dedicated player base very happy like is a good thing, and I think that's the argument I would make.
I think Genshin would have like a lot of players if this happened regardless. But like kind of off what you were saying, I think if CCs all just like, well, not all of them. I think if all the meta TCs, everyone who talked about the power level of a character just disappeared, and like all of KQM just disappeared. Like if none of this existed, I actually do think a significant portion of the Genshin player base would not be still playing. I'm not going to say it's like over half or even close to that. It's probably closer to like.
Okay, well, I know what to do for April Fools
like
next year, boys. We're shutting down KQM.
Yes.
Oh my god. I think that like it's because even if not a lot of people are like playing meta, that is like a lot of like the content that drives people to keep playing is like making their characters stronger. If you don't have like a consistent way to do that, or like new ways to play characters, if you're constantly playing the same teams, if we aren't finding new ways to play new characters, I feel like people would get bored of that like really fast. Obviously things are going to be trending. Obviously there's going to be casuals playing for the story and just kind of farming, but I just think it would be less people.
I think that's a fair take, yeah, because one of the big reasons why I personally like farm for artifacts is, I mean, this is just what I was doing yesterday. I was farming for Razor so I could get him to 90 so that I could play like Razor, Birch, and Hybrid Bloom. I'm not calling it that. I'm not calling it that more effectively. And I think that's definitely a thing that's also true of a lot of players, where they see some content creator, they see them put out like, oh, this is a highly effective team that you could be playing right now, whether that be international or Raiden Hyper or some whatever whack-ass thing Zajef manages to come up with. But that's one of the big reasons for farming. And if you don't have that thing driving you, if it's just, well, I have Morgana and I have international, and there are no new teams that I could build because no one's coming up with new team ideas. I have no reason to farm because Morgana and international work.
You know, I actually kind of wonder. What happened? Hello?
Ooh.
I don't know why I disconnected. Hello?
It was too spicy.
But I think Zajef, or not Zajef, I think Ayzel does bring up an interesting point there. I do wonder how much money, like indirectly, have I or KQM in general made for me? You know, like
Probably lost
how fast did the reception for Hu Tao turn around after we found those animation cancels and stuff like that, right?
I mean, I guess here's a fun question. How much money do you think MiHoYo made after people found out Raiden C2 is really strong? So let's suppose Raiden have the exact same constellation, except nobody ever talk about it. Nobody really care. But like,
oh yeah,
how
significantly less money.
You gotta get something about it. Like, they could make the exact same constellation, but if people didn't talk about how strong it is, it would be completely different, right? Like, people might be less incentivized to pull for it.
I don't know. I think this is like one of those cases where like, where a ton of people are coming out of the woodwork right now and saying that nobody cares about Endgame, no one cares about combat, blah, 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 blah. It's a story-driven game. I play 30 minutes a day. But, like, on this other hand, look at these banner sales. Who's at the top? Right?
Yeah,
it's
feel
Raiden,
like
it's Hu Tao, it's Kazuha. Like, it's good units.
I'll be honest, I really hate this Genshin Impact. It's a story-driven game take. First of all, like, who defined Genshin Impact as a story-driven game? Like, first and foremost, to be honest, Genshin Impact is an action RPG, which means, to be honest, the combat is actually what the Genshin Impact was designed around. And I'll be very honest, if you go on YouTube or Twitch and you look at the pre-roll ad, I guarantee you in that ad they don't go like, "Oh, Raiden Shogun is the successor of the previous Inazuma Archon. She can't cook or something." They don't sell Raiden because she can't cook or some kind of story. You know what they show in the ad? They show her pulling out a boomer sword and whipping enemy around. So I would really think combat has driven. Combat is a thing that definitely drive a lot of sales. And like again, like more powerful characters probably sell more because more people want to pull powerful characters. The way I kind of see it is like, if Genshin Impact was only story driven, then it would just be a book or a visual novel. Like, visual novel exists for a reason. It's because they're like story driven game, quote unquote, right? And
So,
Genshin Impact is not a visual novel.
Just to catch this real quick, I don't think any of us would agree that like Genshin is not like there's nothing that's part of the equation that makes Genshin Impact good that like isn't partially story, right? It's like story, combat, it's character, like it all comes together to like make Genshin Impact, right? What we're advocating for is that, okay, maybe you might want to throw a bone to the people that enjoy combat the most, considering that a significant portion of your business model is selling constellations, selling weapons and stuff, and a big part of your gameplay loop beyond the seasonal releases of story content is spending resin, right? Limiting people's progression. But
Here's what's funny. I think people underestimate what's combat really mean. Combat is not the same thing as meta, guys. Like, people wanting more combat is not the same as people wanting more really strong, powerful unit. When I talk about like how Raiden has a move that pull out a boomer sword, that's combat. That is like one of her moveset. No matter how strong it is, I mean, it is really strong in this case, but it could be like really, really weak, and people would care for the animation itself. But combat can mean a lot of things. Like, being able to use the character is combat. Watching a character do cool animation that are like can see her attacking is combat. Combat is not the same thing as, oh, I want strong, powerful character that can destroy the abyss. Xiangling 2.0. No. Like, character moveset is combat. The way the character attack is combat. The way the characters wield their weapon is combat.
I mean, that's an interesting take. I think one of the things that people, or one of like the more generous interpretations of like anxiety would definitely be like, okay, a unit like Raiden comes out, very cool, does a lot of damage, a lot of people talking about it, and then they're like urged to pull, I suppose, and that's a kind of pressure, but that's completely like on MiHoYo. That has nothing to do with like Endgame or anything like that. But I have another question for you. So like, I asked this to Zajef last week. How do you feel about like TC, or not even TC, but like Braxophone talked about it earlier. What's your relationship to a game that has no end game, that has no point, right?
What is a game that has no end game? Is it an example?
I think there's a lot of like just single player story games that like once you've beaten the post game, there's just nothing.
Yeah.
How about let me put it this way: is there a game where there's no TC? If there's a game if a game has TC, it probably have some kind of end game, right? That's why people TC it. For example, Animal Crossing actually have TC. What is the fastest way to get bells? Cookie Clicker have TC. Cookie Clicker have like, what is the most efficient way to buy your upgrade?
Cookie Clicker has super in-depth TC.
Cookie Clicker have TC. Animal Crossing have TC.
I think
Maybe something like Street Pass doesn't have TC.
I think one of the ways you could spin that is that even if MiHoYo didn't add an end game, we would still find ways to challenge ourselves or to challenge each other or ourselves, right? That they don't actually need to develop like a dedicated end game because people will do it on their own. But that's like another version. But yeah, go ahead, Brax.
Do you think that do you think that you would continue to, like, let's say there was no Abyss, I mean, obviously there's still combat in the game, so I still think that TC would be a thing. But like, let's just pretend like Abyss didn't exist. And do you think that there would still be as many people interested in TC? And
No.
do you think that? Okay, so here's the second part of that question. So I've been thinking about this a little bit, and we haven't really had power creep in this game, right? Like we have like units every once in a while that are pretty strong. Like Raiden came out, and she's pretty good, right? She's not like super broken. You could argue
there.
you could argue she's overrated, or if you want to, but I think she's like pretty good, right? But I think that like if there was power creep in this game and there was no end game, I think that would be enough to keep people TCing. But because we're staying at like the same level, I think that's also part of the reason why a lot of people find it boring. I'm not advocating for power creep. I think power creep is awful, especially in games you have to spend money in. But I definitely do think that would keep a lot more people interested if there was no end game.
To answer your question about the Abyss, like even more detail, I don't no. Like, there's a wall in front of you right after you finish like the story. How do you beat this challenge that they presented in front of you? And it's
Right.
the Spiral Abyss. For a lot of players, they probably wouldn't understand a lot. They'd probably YouTube it and find out how to like start playing the game. But if you're already a player that's like kind of not inclined to like really care about it, like you just don't do it, right? But for theory crafting specifically, it was kind of built up on the idea that like what are the best units to use to clear the abyss as fast as possible, and what units should you buy to clear the abyss and stuff like that.
Right.
That's how Shangling was born.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, I want to talk about kind of off topic, but I kind of want to talk about KQM or Kaching.
Yeah.
How Kaching like
Those are different.
why Kaching was not very good when the game first came out, and why Kaching is really good now. That was a topic that I want to talk about, or rather, that's a video that I want to make.
Yeah, we
Don't
can
Dendro.
we can kind of weave in how we feel about Dendro here. I think we can shift gears. Or
We don't have to.
first of all, is there like any final thoughts that we have on a game with no meta? Like, does this change how you're gonna do content from now on? Like, Tenten, do you think that maybe you or Zajef will just outright call a unit dog shit because it doesn't matter? How do you feel about like the idea that they're never going to buff or change any other characters, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Just closing thoughts. Doesn't have to be super in depth.
I think if a character or a Genshin Impact loses a meaning, then it would be pointless, which would be sad. And right now, characters strength have meaning because Abyss exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how if life has no meaning, it would be kind of sad. But hey, that's a different talk.
We got very deep there very fast. Okay.
In other words,
Yeah.
so
Like,
yeah.
here's an example I can think of, which is in the last Razor event. In the Razor event, there was a part where you have to open the shop, and you're given a couple of sliders. You can choose to increase your productivity or quality or feedback, right? But none of them have any meaning. Like, what is the difference between increasing your productivity versus quality? Like, how does it improve your revenue generation in that event? And the answer is like no one actually gave a fuck. You just click whatever, you literally just drag the slider to whatever, and it called a day. Like, it has no meaning. It has no meaning. You think like dragging the sliders higher or lower has a meaning? No, it doesn't. It was literally like pointless. And so all you do is just click the slider around and call it a day. It's so boring, and it just doesn't have a meaning, right? Because there's no TCA on that. You just do whatever. You just click it and you call it. And so when things doesn't have meaning, there's a lot less. There's probably like no incentive to ever like put thought process into it, and you just become a mindless human.
To cover for Tenten just real quick before we get to your answer, Brax. Tenten does not care about the story like at all. I don't think Tenten has ever cared about the personality or anything about any
That is
character
wrong.
other than
No, that is 100%
Xiangling's
wrong.
cooking. I think that's the only thing he's ever valued.
No, I cared about the story.
Uh-huh.
I cared about Yunjin dance. I cared about the Goba story. Dude, you guys know what I remember? I remember the Soul's God in Lure and how she got shit on by Zhong Li. I remember Kazu's dead friend and dead cat. And
But the
how...
cat's alive. The cat's alive
Oh.
though.
I
Yeah, he enjoys
remember.
the story.
I remember about how Venti liked alcohol and she got kicked around by La Sinora.
You don't think that these are meaningful for any people, Tenten? You don't think that someone would pull for a
ultimate
character
test.
because of it?
Here's what I remember. Raiden Shogun ancestor was called Mokoto. And she passed on the electro archon to her without giving her a warning. And she was sad.
I can't.
I can't. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. To keep it like really brief, I don't really see Genshin being like a long-term thing for me. I think I'll play the game, but I don't see content creation being like super viable for very much longer, unless there is like another sort of end game. Because there's just too many people making Genshin videos, right? Like there's too many people trying to make guides, too many people doing like meta stuff. Because it's like honestly, it's kind of easy. Like you just kind of do research, you kind of teach people, and then you play the video game, right? So I don't know. I think there's going to come a point where I probably turn away from this game for content if that is what ends up happening. If there's not another reason to play the game other than Abyss and evaluating character power in Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Still love the game though. It's a fun game.
To be honest, while we're on sad story, that's gonna be how it works for every single person. Every single content creator eventually gonna have a day where they just don't play Genshin anymore. Not just the TCO one, even the non-TCO one.
Oh, 100%.
It's a matter of when, not how.
100%, dog. I see
I don't know
Fob
when I'm
playing
gonna-
like random shit all the time.
Yeah, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with Genshin. I mean, to be honest, here's an interesting aspect about Genshin that I really enjoy, that I kind of agree with the casual. Genshin is a game that doesn't take that much focus into its gameplay, but it also means it doesn't take that much focus in terms of its content creation, right? Like, if there's no content, I just don't make content. I feel like this is a double-edged sword for certain people, like especially full-time content creator. They might have the feeling of, oh, I have to push, let's say, one video every single day, and there's no content. I can't do that, and that sucks for them. True. For me, because content creation is just most like a hobby, not a full-time job, the fact that I don't feel pressure to say like, oh, I have to make a video today, I have to make a video tomorrow, it's honestly really great. I just make a video whenever I have something to talk about. Now,
This
here's
guy's
the problem
flexing
is that
he has a job.
yeah, here's is actually an interesting thing. I have so many things that I want to talk about that I actually don't have enough time to make all this video. There's so many things I want to talk about all the time, but it's like
Send me your
whatever.
video
To me,
ideas,
it's like
I'll make them.
I have like infinite all the time. I still have like idea from like 6 months ago that I've never ever done. But like it's like, to me, it's like whatever. If I don't have time to get to a video, and like I'll just do like only the important things. Like, 2 weeks I make one video on like new characters, 2 video on the new characters, maybe like inject a video that I wanted to make once in a while in there. Like, let's say I make one video every week. That's pretty laid back and it's enough for me. So that's what's really good about Genshin not having insane amount of content, is I also don't feel that pressure to content create, and it fit really well with my schedule.
Yeah, for full-time people, we just
Die.
we just die. Yeah, I'm gonna go get a job at Riot now.
Die.
How is
Yeah.
the audience retention like when you switch categories into like Tower Fantasy?
Oh my god. Okay, so the thing is, like, most of us could succeed in another category. MTash actually had a whole thing on this. He had like this Twitter space where he was just talking about content creation, and someone asked about switching content. And he said this thing that I was like, oh my god, this is actually so true. most people are just scared to try new things and also scared to like deal with loss and viewership. But like if you do it the right way, there's a way to retain your audience or like some of your audience and then pull a new audience at the same time. And so like when I did Tower of Fantasy videos, that was actually my Tower of Fantasy video was the first video I've ever had to hit trending, which is really funny. It was just a review of Tower of Fantasy. That's all it was. And then I had a video after that that's like 100k views. That's like a 5 tips thing, right? And it's like I could get views in Tower of Fantasy when the game was like relevant. I don't know how it is now because I haven't tried. But that exists for like most other games. And I think as soon as Genshin content creators are truly burnt out, like most of us will take a small break, we'll come back to the game. When it gets to the point where after the break you come back and it still kind of feels like there's nothing for you to make, that's when people are going to have to start looking around. And Zeals did it. I don't know. Do you know Zeals' ambitions?
Yeah, I know. He literally like quit Genshin to become the last like biggest Lost Ark streamer.
Yeah, no, like he's literally massive now. And his viewership was so bad. Like when he switched over, he dropped most of his viewership. He was averaging like 50 to 100k views per video, and then Lost Ark he was averaging like 5 to 10k for like the first like month, and then took a break and he came back, and eventually it just worked. He found his formula and he got out of there. And I think that's a lot of Genshin creators are in that waiting room.
Yeah, I think it is hard though for full-time people because if you take that dip in viewership, that's a dip in your paycheck, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's
I
hard
actually
to
don't know
deal
what I'm
with
gonna
that.
do when I leave Genshin.
You don't have a job.
Tenten, you were on that Lost Ark wave, brother. I was playing Lost Ark, and
were.
people were like, "Did you watch the Tenten video in my fucking like random lobbies?"
Oh, I think I could have done it. No, if I wanted to switch Lost Ark, I could have done it. But Lost Ark was a lot of time. It was really time consuming.
That was your way out. That was it.
Yeah,
You had a
like,
ticket out, Tenten. You had
I
a golden
unironically
ticket
like
out.
Genshin.
Yeah,
I ironically do like Genshin, so
which makes
that's
it
the
more
thing.
sad, right? Because Genshin is a good game. It's just they refuse to add content that would make it actually like possible to play. Like I would gladly play more Genshin if they had more content, like more spiral this, but
Just make
but,
the roguelike thing that they had permanent.
I think it's definitely an interesting take. I think I can easily foresee myself leaving Genshin for say something like a Brew Protocol. Like let's say
You and every other person in Genshin.
yeah, let's say that game come out and my content creation in Brew Protocol take off. I can easily see myself just fully committing to Brew Protocol and switching away from Genshin, which is the unfortunate news, but it would be what it is. At the same time, I think like you can kind of think like that for most Genshin creator are kind of already sidetracked from Genshin. I can kind of name a few. You guys know like Ruby is actually doing a lot more Tower Fantasy.
Yeah.
She's like she just liked Tower Fantasy much more, and that is an example.
Social aspect, so good.
Love the top. Okay, here's a hot take, and no flame in case they watch this video. But the top Genshin creator are fake. Like, you guys think the top Genshin content creator actually play Genshin? I promise you, most of them don't actually play Genshin. I'm not gonna name who, but you guys know who it is. And if they're watching this video, no flame. But like, I personally refer them as fake content creator for Genshin because they don't actually play Genshin. I mean, Genshin do give them high viewership, but most of them don't actually play Genshin. Even they stream like Genshin all day.
I'm not gonna blame any content creator for going on the grind and then like doing their daily 2 hours of Genshin, their community service time, and then fucking off and then going to play Valorant or like fucking watching Gordon Ramsay on YouTube. I don't really care too much about that. But
yeah, so there are
power to that. I mean, there's
who
fucking
actually
nothing
play
to do.
Genshin.
I mean, not all of us can be like Code, okay? But yeah, I think we could move on from here. I think we said everything we needed to say. Damn, it's kind of hard. It's a hard pivot, but how'd you guys feel about Dendro at all? Like, Tenten, did you have any thoughts?
Dendro is cool. There's no Dendro character right now, so that's what sucks about it. I think Hyper Bloom is really good. I think Aggravate is a little overrated. People think Aggravate is really strong. To be honest, Aggravate is good, but not like ridiculously overpowered. I mean, a part of it is probably hugely because we don't have a real Dendro character. This is a concept that people get wrong in every game. and that is like people think like, oh, these two characters have synergies together, so I have to pair them together. But you gotta realize like if the individual character is not very good, having synergy doesn't mean shit. This is especially true in other competitive game like TFT, maybe even the new game Overwatch. If your characters are individually shit, it doesn't matter how good synergies they have. Using shit individual characters is not that much better than just using two individual really strong characters that have no synergies. I don't actually know if this is the case of Overwatch because I haven't played it, but maybe Brox can tell. But for TFT, like synergies is like dramatically overrated. Usually, like when you get to the end game of TFT, you would much prefer just put in strong individual unit rather than trying to force a dead, what we call dead unit in for a random synergies because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, for Overwatch, it's mostly just skill issue. Like, doesn't matter how good the characters are together if you can't play them well. And I would imagine that's pretty similar. I don't know about balance right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as actually, I wanted to ask you guys a question about this because I'm just curious. Do you guys feel like Dendro MC is actually like a bad unit and we're just in good Dendro waiting room, or do you feel like Dendro MC is actually going to be still a decent character after Kusanoli?
I mean, Dendro MC is a bad unit.
Yeah, I don't
jacked.
know. It depends on Kusanoli's off-field Dendro application because I mean the reason that you want to use DMC right now is because he has the best off-field Dendro application. If Kusanoli can apply Dendro off-field, then maybe she replaces him. Then if she can't, then she doesn't.
Yeah, I think
just don't know.
That's pretty much it.
I actually don't think he's bad. I think he's pretty good, or he, she, whatever. I think the Traveler's pretty good. I think it's the first Traveler we've had that's
Why is
actually
Traveler
like
good,
pretty.
though?
Well, I mean even Geo Traveler's not even that bad, but.
Why is Traveler good aside from the fact that he applied Dendro? Let me add this way. What does he provide to the team
I don't know.
outside of Dendro?
Nothing but the fact that he applies Dendro is pretty nice.
What makes Charmelin good other than the fact that she applies Pyro really fast?
She snaps off, she has no ICD on her elemental burst, she does a bunch of damage.
Okay. Your Dendro Traveler
really
enables you to do a ton of different team compositions very well.
That's kind of true. So, I think Dendro Traveler is alright. It's actually not as bad as it looked, but it's also pretty bad. As an individual character, he's pretty bad. What make up for it is the synergy is, I wouldn't say good, but like decent. Let's just say good enough to the point where it's justified to put him in. But because he's a bad individual unit, I would respond to the first question that he's not that good. You know, I would think like as soon as we get Dendro unit that actually do something, and keep in mind that there's 4 confirmed Dendro characters right now, chat. Oh, we don't actually know because apparently MiHoYo can just kill characters, but there's 4 confirmed Dendro characters that we're gonna be getting, and those are Baidu, Yao Yao, the Dendro Archon, and Anaheim. Those 4 characters are confirmed in.
Did you just
Anaheim?
Whatever his name is, I don't know. Alhamba, I don't know.
Alhamba.
I'll hype him.
I think it's Anaheim actually.
Anaheim?
No, it's
Yeah.
Al Hate Ham.
Okay, those 4 characters are confirmed Dendro, chat. So, I think here's what I'm kind of scared about. What I'm scared is that we're gonna have reached a certain point where Dendro characters become, at least one of the Dendro characters become must roll. Because right now, while Dendro is decent, the individual character like Kali and Dendro main character are just so bad. And so when we get an actual Dendro character that's really good, I'm kind of afraid that they are must have to play any Dendro team. I'm really scared to say that a new character would be must pull in the future, but I think it's honestly possible. Keep in mind that one of the huge reasons why most characters in the game are not must pull is because we have equivalent or better characters. Shanhe, we have Rosaria. Electro characters, we have officials. Why Kaza is not a must pull? Sucrose. What else is there? There's probably a lot of examples. Like, well, Yelan is not a must pull. Xingqius. But what happened if Yelan existed and there's no Xingqius, right? Let's go on.
I mean, the thing is like if they just release any Dendro character that is off field like better, more consistently, it'll be good. Like I won't lie, like the Dendro main character I think is good. Like it's just a good unit, plain and simple. Whether or not you make the argument that it doesn't actually do that much damage, blah blah blah, you're just relying on the reactions. I think that's just pure cope. Yeah, you're relying on elemental reactions. They're enabling a lot of fucking units do that, okay? And we don't call them dog shit just because that's the only thing they do. So
Yeah, we do. What?
what?
We for sure do. What?
No.
Let me see.
Yeah. Name one. I just
Look-
as an example.
Look at Chongyun enabling cryo
Do
with
we
its
call-
infusion.
Kokomi's not donkey because the only thing she really does is just apply hydro, right?
Apply Hydro? Okay, but Hydro is... Well, Kokomi is good because she doesn't just apply Hydro, she also heal. That's why we call Barbara Donkey, because Barbara just apply Hydro, no?
Wait, Barbara heals.
Barbara's pretty good. I don't know what about you.
Barbara,
I don't know what you're
Barbara is
saying, bro.
fucking fake, dude. Barbara doesn't heal. Look at... Have you seen her
The issue
constellation?
with Barbara is she just doesn't apply enough hydro. She applies hydro once every like 5 seconds, and also it's like she has like not full uptime on her elemental skills. So I think Barbara's issue is less of she does nothing else but apply hydro, but more of she does do
She
other
just does
things, but her
nothing?
hydro
Oh.
application is just
Again, like
terrible.
I don't think that another Dendro character coming out that's good off field automatically makes the Dendro main character like awful. You'll still be able to use it on the other side, right?
Mhm.
But the main point I was getting at is like, yeah, if a new unit comes out that's like slightly easier to use or does a lot more, then yeah, obviously they'll be really good. But I think Dendro in general is just a good element to have, and I don't know, the Dendro main character does what you need.
Talking with Tenten about this on the way back from TwitchCon. Have we looked? I mean, maybe you guys have, but I haven't seen any resources on it. Have we actually compared like the top teams that we have to like the top Dendro teams to see like what their power level is relative to like what we expect to be at the top of the meta? I know it's really hard to compare teams like that because
Yeah.
obviously there's so many caveats, but like surely there's like a ballpark like.
So we know that the issue is a lot of the comparisons are GC sim stuff, which have a lot of assumptions attached to them that may or may not be realistic. For example, that you are consistently executing rotations against a infinite HP enemy for like 100 seconds. And that's how they measure team performance. They just look at pure sheet numbers. It's like the epitome of spreadsheet impact.
Also,
But according to that, we do have some pretty strong teams. I think one of the strongest teams that's in GC Sim at the moment is like Tainari, Fischl, Yai, Aggravate, where basically it's just Aggravate with Fischl and Yai, and they both do tremendous amounts of off-field damage with the reaction. One of the issues right now actually is that Dendro MC is not actually in GC Sim at the moment, so we can't actually like measure a lot of teams because a lot of our good Dendro teams have Dendro main character. But even so, like I know that some calcs have been done. Aggravate teams are tremendously powerful. And we have a lot of tremendously powerful Hyper Bloom teams as well. I haven't really heard anything about like Burgeon or Thundering Fury or any of those like I guess harder to reaction count teams. But from what I know, Hyper Bloom and Aggravate teams are pretty strong. They're not like very different from our current team power levels, but they definitely aren't slacking.
fine. I was actually gonna mention Tagnari, but on the other side of the spectrum, I remember talking about how Tagnari could actually be good in the Aggravate team just for a quick swap. But the thing you guys have to be careful about GC Sim is, it's like GC Sim do some kind of impossible quick swap Tagnari team where like you swap them and you instantly like frame perfect cast free headshot charge attack,
Right, exactly.
which is like really difficult.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
actually
That the highest DPS team I think is like Tighnari official aggravate, but it does have that assumption with him on like an R3 prototype Crescent where you immediately headshot enemies and then do three frame perfect charge shots. And that's not something that most players.
I'm stun locked by Paimon. I'm stun locked by Paimon. I'm
skill issue. But yeah, as I said, like GC Sim makes assumptions that aren't necessarily.
I control my character. I'm stun locked by Paimon. I'm fucking stun locked by Paimon. Paimon wouldn't let me move. This game sucks ass. I'm dead.
I'm sure the people listening to this later will love that.
I can't, dude. How did you even do this? I'm looking at the stream. How the?
You guys look at the stream right now. I'm
How
actually
did you
stun
get
locked.
here?
I'm actually stun locked. Paimon is just. Can we explode?
Tenten's just interrupting the podcast by screaming about Paimon.
Yeah. Sure. Hold on.
And then I have no idea. You can open the map, just teleport.
It's funny.
Okay, well, your chat gets to watch you just run up a hill for the next 30 minutes.
Leave that on overnight. Just see if it like fixes itself.
All right, so we talked about the Dendro Traveler, a little bit of Tighnari. Do any of the other units really inspire anything in you guys? Kale, Dorian, obviously Cyno.
Oh, okay. So Kale was, I kind of was not a big fan of Kale's kit at the start, and honestly, I'm still not like a huge fan of Kale's kit. But now that like looking at more Dendro stuff, like how long Quicken lasts, as an example, I feel like Kale is actually a much better unit than I initially gave her credit for. I don't know about you guys. What's going on?
He's still running up the hill.
Oh my god. No, but the main reason for that is Elegy, because like Elegy is so good. And so like I specifically with Kale and Elegy, I've actually enjoyed playing those aggravate teams a little bit more, and so I do feel like Kale is a little bit. I don't want to say underrated because like obviously we're just in waiting room for like other better Dendros, but like to be honest, I think her reception was really negative at the start. I think a lot of people are holding on to that, even though like I don't actually think she's as bad as we initial set.
Yeah, I think
guess
she's
the
pretty
caveat
niche.
though is that you do need Elegy, like which is
Yeah.
the 5-star weapon. But I think if you do have that, yes, you could make a case for her being better. It's just I think a lot of the initial judgments that we made were under the assumption of like free to play loadout, no Elegy. She's just worse than DMC, so she's bad. Is I think like what a lot of the initial sentiment was.
I mean, I think that's perfectly fair. I think like Elegy's perfectly fine on her. Favonius Warbow is perfectly fine on her, but her energy constraint is still quite high. Like in a aggravate team, there's not that many that really need like a ton of energy, but like specifically speaking, like
Well, doesn't
it can
DMC
be...
also need like an absurd amount of energy?
Yeah, they both do.
It does. Yeah. I think that the nice thing about DMC is that I don't know because DMC a lot of the times you run 20-second rotations. And one of Koei's main advantages over DMC is that you can run a 15-second rotation with her because she's a 60 cost 15 second CD on her burst. But in order to run a 15-second rotation on her, that also forces you to build more ER because the shorter the rotation, the less energy gained over the course of the rotation, meaning the more ER you have to build. So I think that ultimately, even though she does have a lower energy burst cost, it still does end up being relatively painful to play both of them in terms of energy. I don't know. I haven't been playing too much Koei. I did some testing a couple days back on her with TF Kazuha because she allows you to run the TF Kazuha on the 15-second rotation, which is better than DMC's 20-second, but I don't know. I think that in general, I'm just stuck waiting for a different Dendro unit.
Just call them bad. Just say that you think they're bad.
Yeah, my hot take is Kale is bad. I think the thing about Kale is her elemental skill sucks to use. Maybe with the fact that like it come up really slow, and it just can for some reason not hit the enemy. Like, I didn't know we can miss untargeting ability in Genshin Impact, but apparently you can. It coming out really slow is honestly like a pretty big problem. Honestly, Colin, I think it's just I honestly would say she's bad, but she's only like usable right now because we have no other Dendro option. It's basically like, imagine if Xian was one of the only 2 pyro characters in the game.
It's kind of like, well, okay, I don't know if Sayu is the best. I was gonna say I kind of feel like most people I feel like aren't playing Sayu as like their animo to like swirl elements, but
Fuck
like
no.
that doesn't mean Sayu is like an awful character because she still has access to Viridescent. So I guess
Well,
that's more of like,
I don't know.
That's more what I
You're
mean.
talking to Ayzel here. That
Nah,
guy fucking hates
sucks.
Ayzel.
I mean,
I do-
I think that's kind of true, but also like it's one of the thing that I kind of dislike doing in general, which is kind of related to the beginning of the podcast, which is like at that point basically you're just saying like everything is good and doesn't really have a constructive opinion, right?
But
Not blaming, but it's like essentially saying like, oh, every Dendro character is good because they apply Dendro, and every Hydro character is good because they apply Hydro. Every Callus user is good because they
that
hold
Hydra
TDDS.
bit, that Hydra bit's true though.
What do you mean, Bob?
But for me personally, I think Kale's pretty okay. I mean, she's positioned in a way that you can play her quick swap, and if you use like a Favonius bow, the energy conditions aren't as bad for like certain electro units. I think it could be more flexible to have like that on an easier, like to have Dendro easier to access compared to the Dendro main character for specific teams, like I guess with Kazuha and Keqing, like these faster rotating teams. But I don't know. For me personally, I don't know if I would ever really like, the context around a unit is something to consider, but I would never like condemn a unit just because like, oh yeah, this anime unit is dog shit because Kazuha and Sucrose exist. No, I don't think Sayu is good because Sayu's just not that great.
I would. You should play Sucrose.
Based.
Oh my goodness! Look at who it is.
Guys, Zajef is here. We have to restart the podcast.
Surprise guest,
Guys,
Zajef. Hello,
Hi.
Zajef.
Restart the podcast. Hello,
No, shut
beautiful
the fuck
people.
up.
Welcome to the KeqingMains 15 podcast.
This is the 17th podcast.
So to catch you up, Zajef, we were talking about the new characters. Last week we did not get to chat about Dendro Traveler, Tagnati, Kale, Dory, Cyno,
Dory.
and
Dory.
the question
Dory is
that
definitely
we were,
one of the most characters in Genshin, I would say.
He most characters.
the
I
question
don't
that
know if I call
was
her most. I'd say she's definitely one of the characters in Genshin. I think most is pushing it a little bit.
yeah, but it's okay. Not every character has to be defined solely by their combat value, right? Dory has a lot.
VA value, cool cosplay,
Dory has a lot,
anti value.
yes.
Dory
It's
does
true.
have a lot.
Especially
Okay,
in
but
this game that is not focused
actually,
on combat.
Dory does have some value. She's a good co-op unit.
Is this the famed co-op TC?
Oh,
Yes!
can we talk about how co-op? It's,
Her burst connects to all 4 party members. You quadruple your damage.
can we talk about how co-op is fake in Genshin? This was one of the topic that I think came up. I don't remember with who. I think with my management
We have-
and creators. You know what's the thing about co-op is co-oping is actively worse than playing by yourself.
You mean it's harder?
No, it's just worse.
In what
What?
way?
Like if you co-op domain, it takes longer and it's harder and
So it's harder.
less efficient. Well, I mean,
True. It is harder, which is
Yeah.
it's endgame, Tenten.
co-op
Real.
is
More difficulty.
so
Real.
it is worse than it is like co-oping in Genshin is actually worse than not co-oping. Then it is true.
Yeah. Co-op TC, guys. Very, very, very fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be saying these if there was a section of the Abyss that was co-op only.
That is fair.
I
Can we
mean,
please
I
get co-op
certainly
of this so
wouldn't
that
complain.
Yoimiya C4 can
I
become
mean-
useful?
Please.
Honestly, like it would be frustrating if there was a thing that was co-op only, but not
think,
because
yeah.
the co-op can't be fun, just because I don't know what the hell they do with their like. I mean, I'm not a programmer, but I think it's called the netcode or whatever. Like what decides what's.
Yeah,
I
you can
don't
call
know
it the
what
netcode.
is happening there, but like, what the fuck, man?
Oh, do you want to know? We actually know
Swim it
this.
in the floor.
No, unironically, we know how this works. The
Who called
lower
request
the
me?
host ping is, like the more things get extended. Your gauges take longer to decay out, and in general, you'll get like more reactions and stuff. I'm not
I
even
can see
joking.
that.
I'm not even joking.
No, I can
The-
see that.
I think
only there was-
based on some theory crafting that I've seen, the shittier your host ping is, like the better it is for co-op.
If
Yeah, I
only
can
we
see
had
that.
some end game
Nice.
co-op to TC for.
Okay, here's my problem with co-op, and that is like you have to rely on your teammate. Then that sucks. Like imagine playing Xiangling without Bennett.
I
But
mean,
you play
sure, like,
MMOs.
just like
Just find people that have Bennett.
No, just find people who know
You
how to do
have a
resistance.
Discord server, Tenten.
Hey, but Genshin Impact is a casual game. People F3 and then people have played Xiangling without Bennett.
Okay, well, if they're a casual player, they're not gonna care if it's good or not. And if you're not a casual player, just use a Discord.
I mean, I guess that's true. It's like it's basically like pugging versus pre-made in MMORPG.
Hmm.
Pugging always sucks.
Dude, I actually really enjoyed the what's it called? It's not the Ayzel event. It's like his wife.
Based?
Based. Yeah. I actually really enjoyed that. I feel like if they added like more mechanics to it and then just kept it in the game, it'd be Pog.
I just remember having fun with the OG like Oceanid event. Because it showed like who did the most damage
So you could flex.
afterwards. Yeah, so you could just flex your go on you. It was pretty funny.
This is the reason for C6 in characters,
one of
guys,
the
is to
most
flex in events.
miserable things that I've ever done in Genshin is the Oceanid event for Vagabond Sword or Vagabond. Or what the fuck was that called?
Legend of the Vagabond Sword?
Vagabond Sword.
Yeah.
That was one of the most miserable things I have ever done in my life. But it's also the only time where I had to co-op it.
Oh, okay, I know this was last week's topic, but man, I keep seeing people say shit like this. I keep seeing people saying like, no, like we don't want endgame because endgame means that things
Excessive
will
anxiety.
get more difficult. But that's not what endgame means. It doesn't necessarily have to be difficult. It could be, but like,
Fun
don't be
endgame,
opposed to the
impossible
idea of
challenge.
literally just having a thing for people to do when they want to play the game just because you're scared it's going to be difficult. It doesn't have to be difficult.
Okay,
Say you don't want it to be difficult, but you want something.
here's a hot take. You guys know why games have a difficulty sliders? It's so that if you don't want to play the difficult version, just don't play it.
That's what world level is.
That's not a hot take.
That's
then.
why. That's why world level is a trap. People don't want to play AR45 world. Don't you guys know?
Okay,
Is that a
but
thing?
like
Do
if
people, like,
you're
turn
at
on?
like 25% of the theoretical cap for optimized stats, you're literally one-shotting everything.
Yeah.
I honestly, I feel like this wouldn't take very long if they just added like another world level or 2 tiers.
Yeah,
Make-
they don't do it because they don't care.
Yeah.
Like they want you to feel unsatisfied and try one of their other games.
Man. It
I-
worked
Because they
We'll
know
never
that
try
the baseline
Honkai.
game is good enough. They know that the baseline game is good enough that you'll keep coming back every time there's a patch. They don't need to keep you playing every day to keep taking your money. And so they just decided, you know what? We'll keep taking your money, but we'll also give you something in another game that you can do every day. And then in that game, we can also take your money.
Based, let's all play Zenless Zone Zero.
Squad up right now,
It's
private
okay.
server.
I'm sorry. I derailed the conversation. I'm still angry about it. Let's
It's okay.
move on.
Are you telling me that it's not in their best interest to sell you things to like for the problems that they've created, Zajef?
Moving on.
Oh,
Okay,
Moving on to
Cyno, all right, with the unit we haven't, or yeah, Cyno.
wait, you guys gonna talk about Cyno last week?
No.
No, we didn't.
No.
Why didn't we start with that?
because
I mean, I guess Zajef was
we
here
were
now.
talking
but-
about other shit at the time.
Zajef made a spicy video on that one.
What, really?
I have
Did
not
I?
watched it actually.
Yeah,
What, really?
Cyno or Cyes.
Oh,
Oh.
true.
Dude, wait.
It's not really that
That
spicy.
joke is stolen, guys. I swear.
It is.
I made that joke.
Was it you?
Yes,
That wasn't
I'm the one
you.
who made that poll in your chat.
Nah.
I have the DM. I literally
Nah.
have the DM.
Yoink! I can't believe you, Yoink, man.
Wow,
can't.
it's like we have another very famous yoink crafter right here.
I don't yoink crafting. I just yoink jokes because I'm not funny.
Yeah, you know what? I yoinked again this video from our chat.
Tenten doesn't need to yoink jokes because his gameplay is funny enough.
Wow.
Sag.
Bro,
He just has nothing to say.
no, I'm just pretending. Like, people, why not? It's not fun to watch someone one-shot a biz. Think about it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it
Might
can be fun. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the one time that you played on my account, you did one shot the abyss, so
Yeah.
I actually half believe that, even though I know that most of your chat probably does not believe it.
Dude, my chat literally doesn't believe me,
Yeah.
but they don't. They know, like,
Yeah.
I'm literally god at every game I play.
Oh,
Good thinking, chat. It's fun
Okay,
to watch the
I think I'm a
it's
little
funny to
doubtful
watch
about that
Tenten.
one. I'm a little bit doubtful about that one. Okay.
all right. When do we queue in Overwatch? 10-10.
Good night.
All right,
After
bet.
my stream.
Like,
yeah, I
we're
have it
playing
downloaded.
Overwatch, guys.
Yeah. Want to play tonight? After my stream.
I have to
I'll
download
stream
it.
Download
Yeah,
it.
it's not too- it's
I
not
would
too
also have
big.
to download
Okay,
it.
back to the topic. Fucking off topic. That's actually derailing.
Okay.
Okay, but
What
for
was the
real
topic,
chat, let
Cyno?
us know if you guys would like to see all of us play other games.
The
It'd
answer
be a
is
fun
yes, and
video.
then they're all gonna leave.
Among Us VR?
Oh wait, I'm
what?
actually buying VR. Let's do this.
Among Us VR?
Shut
you see the you see the ad for it? It's
I
like
have
literally
not.
just a video today.
Okay, I need to see this. Among
Let's see if I can
Us
find it. Yeah.
VR.
This is the
Among
state
Us
of
VR on
Genshin
Steam.
content, guys. We're on a Genshin podcast, and we're talking about playing other games with each other.
Talking
I
about,
think-
like,
How
Among Us
sad.
Okay,
Sad.
I ironically think it would be fun to do a KeqingMains Among Us because we're also smart.
Wait, have you ever seen that Arcadum? Have you ever seen that Arcadum stream where
Yes,
he was
remember
like,
1 year ago when we went to Anime NYC and we did a Jackbox stream? Wasn't that fun
yeah,
to
that
watch,
was fun.
guys?
That was fun. Yeah.
What if we did?
It
Dude,
was
the mic
mostly
quality
fun.
was
Making fun of
so
the white
bad.
harder emote.
I mean, not Socks. Saturday we going to NYC, right? Poggers.
Perhaps.
just play
Did
Pico
you,
Park?
oh, wait,
bro."
did you hear back
This guy?
about the media badge thing?
Hmm?
Did you hear back about the media badge or pro badge? Or whatever
Yeah,
they call it?
I don't remember which one. They said they sent it. I haven't received it yet.
Hey, you're supposed to pick up
No,
text
it's
right
going
Fucking
on with
forever.
that.
Yeah, you
They haven't
pick
even
it up
given
on
me-
site.
No, you pick up on site.
Oh.
That's what we did last year, at least.
That I'm pretty sure I got a notice that it was sent in the mail, but
Oh, then yeah, I have no idea what's going
I'll
on
go.
there.
I'll go check. Maybe
Sweet,
maybe
yeah.
I can't read.
I got approved for one and they didn't send it to me, so I don't know.
No, yeah,
Which one
mine
was
was-
it, Brax?
The CC badge.
Which one? There's two.
Not the
two?
pro one. Wait,
Wait, what?
What?
wait. There's
Yeah,
like a
there's
pro
like-
badge and there's like a media badge, right? They're
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I got the media one.
Okay, I think I got the pro one.
I got
don't
a
know.
pro one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're supposed to get the pro one because that's what we got last year.
Media
I
is
applied
like
for both. I
OLED.
didn't get pro.
What?
I'm not a pro, guys. I'm just
Okay.
media.
But anyway, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we can
Among
play that.
Us.
What other
Oh,
topics?
it's
Guys, we
not-
ran
it's
out
not
of
hard for me to
topics.
head up
What
to
other
the North South
topics
yet.
were there?
Okay,
What
what
is
about
happening?
Cyno? People are watching this podcast right now and they're like,
Oh, wait, hold
oh,
on,
no,
stop,
what Cyno
hold on,
is.
stop. For real, Cyno.
Wait, but
Where's Keqing? We're done.
Dog or Pog?
true.
Dog
I mean,
or Pog?
he do be a dog.
I
Literally
think
a dog.
given it depends on like how much you want to emphasize on comparing him to Keqing. I think if you like compare him with Keqing, then I honestly would think he's not very good.
hmm I just think Keqing is more fun, and the fact that you're getting similar or better numbers with Keqing just reaffirms my decision not to build
This is
him.
the part where I say Keqing is a free standard banner that you can get on losing a 50-50, and then people will be like, you say something about Mona. And I'm like, if you guys are not pulling Keqing or Mona, what the fuck are you guys pulling? Chi-Chi?
Yeah,
L.
I have C5.
I don't know. I think that Cyno is more fun to play than Keqing, mostly just because I hate the charge attack playstyle.
Mm.
But
Whoa. Who said anything about charge attacking on Keqing now?
Yeah, what? EEQE? Ever heard
no,
of
you
EEQE?
E, N1 CA, N3, and then you E again because you have TF.
Who's
No,
playing
just
Undertale
E-
Keqing, bro? What?
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to do a couple. At
I
least that's
think
how I was doing my
this is
revision.
one of the things that I kind of want to talk about, and like I think it's interesting to talk about, and like how come Keqing was not the greatest character when she first came out, and why she's really good now with Aggravate. Kind of interesting like evolution. It kind of go deep into like game design or kit design about like why a character might not be that good. I think like people underestimate how strong Keqing is right now, just because she's not strong in the beginning of the game. So
If you want the TC answer, it's strictly because she has very low requirements to be on field, and when she is on field, she does a lot of electro application. Super short rotation, very non-committal.
short rotation. Yeah. Well, so the thing that I want to do is to start with the history of why she is not the greatest. But that'll be a long lesson. But essentially, like her multiplier are pretty low. Charge attack costs a lot of. Charge attack have a decent multiplier, but it costs a lot of stamina and knock enemy away, which at the time of release was mostly small enemy, which mean like it's just not very good. It kind of like how Overlord wasn't very good when the game first came out, and all you fought was small enemy. But as we fought bigger and bigger enemy that are like bosses, for example, Overlord actually like become a lot more utilizable. The multiplier was a pretty big thing, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And then Aggravate doesn't really care about your multiplier. It just care about your electro application uptime, which Keqing is actually like really strong at.
Man, do y'all remember when physical Keqing was a thing? Oh my god, that was so
Yes, remember
long.
I don't know if
Pyro
that was
Keqing
ever
was
a
the
thing.
thing.
I think that was just what we would call
It was just-
copium.
I think it was just code, but for some reason, like I think people got into their heads that like theory crafters said that physical Keqing was her theoretical like ceiling. I don't know like where this came from, but someone was saying like Fizz Keqing is her theoretical ceiling according to KQM.
No,
And
it's
a lot of
National
people just
Keqing.
started playing
Trolls.
like Fizz KQM. But not,
Pirate
sorry, not Fizz
Keqing,
KQM,
real.
Fizz Keqing, yeah.
Was it not just National Keqing?
I mean, I think that was just back in the era where everyone only really cared about motion value and like no one really cared about team damage, so you weren't considering
Okay,
things like
but you're
national Keqing and
saying
stuff.
you're saying team damage as if we knew even how to like count reactions or like
Exactly.
even
That's
what the
the point. We didn't
conditions
know
were
how
to trigger reactions were.
Mhm.
Where did Zajef go? This guy gone to Washington.
Edge, back to bench.
Gonzo, Washington.
Yeah.
I live in
Oh.
Washington, bro. Among Us VR official launch trailer.
I mean,
Watch
yeah, like Keqing was bad. She didn't really have like much really to do. She was just kind of outpaced by like other characters. Didn't really take long for her like kind of utility to kind of fall away as units that just straight up did more damage easier than her came out.
this. Mhm.
We still haven't talked about Cyno.
I mean, I feel like in order to talk about Cyno, we kind of have to talk about Keqing, so I think it's fine.
I mean,
Okay.
moving on to like today, like 2 years later, the unit that comes out winning out of like Aggravate aside from Fischl is Keqing. Whether you like agree with it or not, but like she's in a pretty decent spot for the reasons I mentioned earlier, where low field time, lots of electro application.
Mm-hmm. Cyno has a fair amount of problem compared to Keqing. Being really squishy, it's kind of one, which is like a bipart type of requiring long field time and just extended long field time by himself. I think that's like the main one, to be honest.
Mhm. I don't know. I think that
Yeah, I'm gonna
Cyno's
need one of y'all to
extended
say a
field
good
time-
thing about this guy. Okay, like we
No,
can't have
yeah,
another
I
Eula
don't
moment.
say something good about him.
I can't
I
have
love
another
Cyno.
Eula moment.
You have
Dude,
to say something
love
good about
Cyno.
him now.
I think Cyno's like really fun to play, and I think that because he's a unit that's like designed around really high field time, just staying on him, he's a unit that's a lot easier to play than a lot of the others. It's kind of just unga bunga, just have fun.
Mhm.
I think that his TF combos are actually really fun to execute. It's like playing a mini game inside the game, and I like it a lot. The only bad thing I have to say about Cyno is I don't think he's very good. But honestly, I'm still enjoying him a lot more than most characters.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Cyno is also he doesn't really suffer as much from high field time as a lot of other units. Kind of because he doesn't really benefit from buffs as much to some degree. It's like hard to measure how much a character benefits from buffs, like at an absolute level. But given that Cyno can take advantage of, for example, aggravate, which plays into the part of the damage formula that attack plays into, which also means that you have saturation, that part of the formula, blah blah blah. Like, sure, maybe you don't get as much from like attack buffs on him as you do. Also, I don't know. I think that Cyno is just like it's he does it doesn't feel like it hurts him as much to be on field for that long compared to some other units. And as Zajef said, he's kind of just fun to play. He's really like unga bunga. I don't really have that much else to say that Zajef hasn't already said, but yeah, like I think if you're already at the like level where you can clear this pretty comfortably, you already have enough damage. Like at that point, you don't really need to care too much about like whether or not a character does 80k DPS or 60k DPS because all you need is 20k.
I don't
Okay,
hear
so, like,
I
if you
don't hear
want to
this
decide
amount
to
of
go for it.
leniency when we were talking about Hazo, bro.
Hey, okay. I will say, sure, Cyno is not that great, but you can still pull him. And it's the same thing
Uh-huh.
with Hazel, where while
Uh-huh.
I don't believe he's as good as some of our other anime units, I think he is still an okay choice.
Yeah. Okay, bro. That's not what I was hearing. But on to you, Brax. What do you have? How much have you really tried out Cyno?
I sat in a call with Zajef just trying to get this one fucking combo down for like 3 hours.
The TF column.
Yeah.
He's
Just-
not very good. That's okay though.
Yeah.
Have you-
not
Are you
pretty
able
much
to, Zajef, I genuinely want to, are you able to consistently execute that, or do you find that it's like so a little bit difficult to do?
I've kind of changed the combos I do because
It's really finicky in general just because like enemies move and all that. But
yeah, but the one I've landed on feels really nice. It's N2E, N4E, N4E, N5E, N4E, N4E, and then an optional N5E after that.
yeah.
44544.
Way too
I-
tank for me.
Noted. Chat type noted right now. Noted.
No, I think Cyno's fine. I don't know. It's hard for me to be like super excited about him because I don't think he was one of those characters that I was like super hyped for beforehand. And when he came out, and he was just like, yeah, he's okay. It's a decent
Okay.
unit.
Okay.
Not to
However-
like drag any old shit up, but like real quick question. You say he's unga bunga, very easy to play, very fun to play. These are the same lines of arguments that we've heard from units like Zhao, like Ito, like Eula. Do you think that there's any merit in these comparisons, or do you think like this is just people lumping all of them together because
I'll fucking find Xiao or Yua fun to play.
True. Ito,
That's all I
I
have to
think
say.
I think Ito is a good comparison. I think Ito is a fairly fun unit to play, but also could be Unga Bunga, and also like just kind of mid. Ito is like, in my opinion, one of the most well designed unit, aside from the fact that Geo fucking both.
You see the light flash on your screen for Cyno, and then you line that up, and it's a neuron activation. I think that's what I like about
interesting
Cyno.
because on Cyno, it feels like you have to play him in a rhythm, and it feels like you have to click E on his on the light on the eye. But in reality, it's like in gameplay, that's why we call it difficulty illusion, because all you really have to do is just click E every time it's off cooldown, and you can kind of hit it. But it feels good because you feel like you're pulling, let's say, a difficult combo off, when reality is actually not as difficult as you think. It feels good to do it. And that's all that matters. I'm not saying like, oh, it's actually so easy, guys, don't be proud of it. No, I'm saying like, it's an easy combo that's satisfying, which is what matters the most. It's like you have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We call it difficulty illusion. It's kind of like how boss, it kind of happened in Genshin Impact
Boss?
too. When you can actually observe this in Genshin Impact a lot, especially in the more casual event, where as you reach lower HP and you're in danger to dying, enemies start hit you less and start doing less damage to you, and you don't really realize that. And so you're like, oh my god, I'm dying. I need to make sure I dodge every single attack. I need to make sure I am hitting my combo perfect so I can complete this. Even though in the game itself, like kind of tune it down. So like it feels like you're pulling off something really amazing. It's like, oh my god, I was 1 HP. I'm so close to dying, but I clutched it anyway. But the game actually tuned it down for you. But it's fine. It's difficulty illusion. It feels really satisfying. It's like, oh my god, I clutched it. Pog. Even though it was like easier. It just
My
feels satisfying.
question to you then is, what is the difference between like the Cyno thing, where it's you see circle, you click E neuron activation, and like the Eula combo, where you do N4 you do TEQ, N4 HE, N4 burst, and
You know
then
you
get big
you just
number.
okay, so you don't
Eula
get
doesn't
big
have
number on
flashing
Eula.
lights.
You don't get big number on Eula. You miss your burst. Have you seen this? Have you seen
I
this clip
can't.
of
I
Razor
can't.
Ninja? You guys should watch this clip from Razor Ninja where he has a C6. He was using his C6 R5 Eula in Abyss, and his burst didn't hit. And I'm like,
Bro,
I
dude,
look
her,
at that,
her
I'm like,
autos don't hit sometimes too. Like she does a backflip and it's like the hitbox is so weird that it just misses.
like no flame to Eula, right? But like, how can you pull a C6 R5 character that just whiff? What? Isn't the point of C6? Isn't the point of C6 R5 to punch out a bot?
We're not here to flame you though, but in general, I think one of the main reasons that people find Cyno or like a comparable unit surprisingly might be Kazuha, where they are doing something just like different from other people, where they're using their skills a lot. There's a lot of visual impact on the screen. Do you think that plays into how you like Cyno? Do you think that differentiates him from like Ito and like Zhao?
Bro, I think it's literally just the light.
It's literally just C circle press E neuron
I
activation.
think it's the light.
RGB computer.
God.
Okay. Any final takes on Cyno here?
Pretty.
Um,
I'll say he's a low mid character given KeqingMains TBH. I honestly was hesitant to say he's even mid in terms of power level perspective.
hmm.
It's mostly like the Keqing that kind of drag him down a little.
Okay.
But
Fair.
it's like fine character to pull if you like him. If we, for example, like are obsessed with short characters, then it's not that bad.
Do you think there's a possibility that he becomes more relevant, like our purple cat girl Keqing?
I don't know, it's hard because I
think
think
it's
that the
hard.
characters with the potential to become relevant are either those who apply an element. So for example, Kuki and Toma became more relevant because they apply electro/pyro off field. And those who, I'm trying to think of like a character who wasn't, or I guess Keqing, yeah, because Keqing has like low field time to do what she does. She's a quick swappy unit, and I think that quick swap units generally have more potential to become relevant than like hyper carry units, because I feel like hyper carry units tend to be relatively sandstone, and the way that you change their teams is by getting them better supports. But quick swap units, you can improve their power significantly, not by getting them better supports, but by building entirely different teams and creating entirely different archetypes that they work in. For example, like Aggrave and stuff. And I don't think that a hyper carry like Cyno, where you want to stay on field for such a long time, really has the potential to be changed that much. Like I'm trying to think of any hyper carry that we have in the game that like significantly changed from their release. I don't really know if we have one. Like Yua, Ito, Xiao, like Ayaka, they all kind of just stayed the same.
Keep in mind,
I
like,
guess for Ayaka you got Shenhe. That's it. Changed.
I think this is the thing that people don't realize when they often talk about how when we get a better Dendro character, Cyno power increase because his aggregate team get better, which is true. But then you also have to realize like the same Dendro characters can work with Keqing as well, so that comparison between Keqing and Cyno will always exist. It is true that they can both relatively go up in strength, so like they'll be better relative to the other characters within the Genshin Impact meta. But the comparison between Keqing and Cyno probably doesn't change that much. If anything, Keqing just have an overall better kit, mean that she will probably be more suitable with future Dendro character as well.
Uh-huh.
I
Well,
also
the last
just realized I
question.
completely forgot about Yoimiya. When I said hyper carries who have changed, the Yoimiya has changed a lot.
The last,
Wow.
well,
But, yeah.
she's gotten better supports, like you said. But
Yeah,
the last
exactly.
question
Shao support soon, Pat.
the last question I would have for all of you is that all of you guys have said that he's fun and stuff like that, but he's not that great. He's not bad. Do you guys want to clarify what you mean by bad? Like, what is the criteria for being bad? What does that mean? Does that mean that they can't clear the abyss? Does that mean that they can clear the abyss with the extra work? Like, how do you qualify that?
I would say like, I mean, yeah, like it's really hard to just say like bad or not, because I think a lot of times we would say like a character is bad, like in comparison to like other characters that are easier to get or easier to build, less investment, etc., etc. When I say he's not bad, I just kind of mean like he clears abyss fine. I don't feel like I have to put in an absurd amount of effort to clear in comparison to some other characters that deal just less overall damage. But the reason he's fine and not bad as opposed to good is because like Tenten said, just because like Keqing exists. And I mean I personally feel like Keqing is actually easier to play than Cyno, but
True.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cyno have too much. It's too vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
The interruption thing.
I think this is the thing people don't realize is like a lot of the Cyno team kind of include Zhongli because of him being too vulnerable, and like it's not Cyno being easy to play that make him like Unga Bunga friendly, but rather like because like, inclusion of Zhongli in your team make it more actually Unga Bunga friendly.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know. I'm just
as
kind of
well.
disappointed in Cyno because he doesn't work in Hyper Bloom that well.
In terms of overall, I would say like Cyno is a character that require decent amount of not just investment but effort to make it work, at least relative to other stronger team. Which is why I would define as a mid character ish.
Mm-hmm. And then for Zajef, do you have any comments on that? Are you even here?
He's dead already.
Zabbage.
Sorry,
Zabedge.
The question,
Oh,
Zajef, is that we've said that Cyno is bad but really fun. How would you qualify bad? What does that mean? Like, are they able to clear the abyss still?
Yeah, he's fine. It's just compared to the others, it's not as good, which is okay. That's just like meh.
Okay. And then I think we'll wrap this podcast up like really quick with a lightning round here with the new banner. We have Nilou and Albedo on a double banner, and then we have Xiangling, Beidou, and Barbara as our 4 stars. Any comments on these guys?
Xiangling.
I think
Not the
the new
greatest
banner
banner.
pretty bad. Yeah, I think the banner pretty bad. Despite having Xiangling and Beidou. The biggest thing is you C0 Xiangling and C0 Barbara are in your account by default. Barbara constellations suck ass. Beidou have alright pull value. Xiangling you can. It's nice to have high cons Xiangling at C4, but like honestly, like I don't think it's worth pulling, especially since given the 5-star characters a little not to my liking. The weapon banner I actually think it could be decent if you play for Lilo's weapon, but I actually don't really like the weapon banner that much. I think people overrate the sword too much.
Okay.
Like the pulsar sword.
I think sword's
Before
way
we get to
better.
the weapon banner, any final thoughts on the character banner? Brax, Zajef?
I think that someone once said lol, Lamau even.
Yeah, that was.
That about some.
Oh, about even.
Yoink.
I wonder who said that.
Yarn Grafter.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
And then
that's right.
finally, for our weapon banner, we have Nilou's specific weapon, I believe, the Primordial Jet Cutter, the new Zephos' Moonlight Sackbow, the new Catalyst, I think, D-Bane, and Rain Slasher. Any thoughts on this one?
I
mean-
think people are overrating Zajef.
I think people overrate Cynos a lot.
Because I think people will just see like, oh, at R5 you can share like 30% ER with your entire party. That's so good. And people see like, oh, you can stack it so you can run multiple Zyphoses. But for most people, they're not going to have multiple Zyphoses because this is the first time this weapon has been on banner. So you probably aren't going to get that many refinements of it. Plus, you have to roll for a Nilou weapon / shade cutter. And I don't think that a lot of people are going to be doing that. So also Favonius sword exists because I think a lot of people are looking at Zyphos for like Kazuha. It's like, well, Fav exists. So you don't need Zyphos really because Fav can also batter your team. And also most people don't run enough ER on Kazuha, so you're probably going to be better running Fav anyways. Because if you run Zyphos and triple EM, there's no way you're going to have enough ER unless you just have like 50 ER and substats on a triple EMVV set, which is possible, but unlikely. So
Okay. Looks like our final verdict is that Zephos might not be as great as we think. I don't think anyone thinks that the Wandering Even Star is particularly impressive. Neither does, I don't think any of us really particularly value Primordial Jade Cutter, the key, very well either.
Actually, I think since Kutsing is being played more, I do think that gives Jade Cutter a little bit more value. But yeah, I don't like the weapon banner unless you're pulling Nilou. Then I feel like it's okay. It's pretty good if you're pulling Nilou.
Yeah. My second side was pretty much the same as Ayzel. I think it is pretty overrated by a lot of people just because they see EM plus ER. You guys have to realize the amount of ER it actually give you is like very little, especially at Refine 1. And like if you have Refine 5, potentially multiple of it in your party, then it could be like really ridiculously strong. But nobody is gonna have multiple Refine 5 of those weapons in your party because it's a weapon banner. That means like you're essentially gambling 1 and 4, 1 and 5 for every single weapon pull. To obtain a R5 cycle is honestly like it's like something that probably won't happen for a lot of people. Because of that, it's like just really
You'll probably
overrated.
get like an R2 key by the time you get there.
Keep in mind, like Cypho is a limited weapon banner, a limited weapon on the weapon banner. So like you're not gonna get one just by pulling, say, losing a 50-50 of the character banner. You can get Fab Sword randomly off the standard banner or the character banner, but you can't randomly get a Cypho. So obtaining a high refinement Cypho is just so difficult. And even at honestly, I think even at R5 it's not as good as people think.
Okay.
At R5, if you have 1,000 EM, it gives you like 70 ER on your holder, right? And then like 30% of that to the rest of the party. And like think about how different is that than a Fav? Like, is that even better than a Fav? It has probably higher ceiling, but I think for the most part, it's honestly not even better than Fav.
Okay. Well, that looks like that will be the last topic for this podcast number 17. Zajef like to pop in, or very glad to have Zajef pop in at the very end here, and we're always glad for everyone here as always. We'll do our closing statements. Shout out your stuff, guys. Let people know like what you're up to. If they want to join like your Discord or anything, let them know how to find you. I'm Artesians. You can find me on Discord. You can message me on Twitter. Let me know if there's any topics that you'd want us to talk about next time we do the podcast. Maybe who you want to have on as a guest, or maybe you're a Genshin content creator and want to come on. Let me know on Twitter at Artesians with 2 S's. DM me on Discord or join KeqingMains. Find me wherever.
Apparently your Twitter DMs are closed.
I opened them.
Because I got a DM on Twitter complaining
about
your
my
Twitter
DMs being closed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wait, really?
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Ayzel, your shoutouts?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to shout out this time, other than like I guess also feel free to just DM the KeqingMains Twitter account because I run that now. So I'll see it, and I can, of course, if you'd like to be on the podcast or you have any topics you'd like us to talk about, I'll see those and we can talk about them. So yeah, feel free to do that as well.
Okay. And then Tenten, do you have anything that you're doing up to? What do you want to let them know?
I don't really know. No, not anything in particular. Same as usual. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Okay. And then Zajef, I know you popped in a little late, and we're always glad to have you here. Is there anything you're working on?
Right now, I'm working on this Earth Maokai game. I'm having so much fun.
Oh, that's why he's muted.
Yeah. Now we're gonna go play League of Legends after
I'll
this.
play
guys.
Overwatch later. Shut up.
No, I don't play Overwatch.
We have 5 people in here for Overwatch too.
Ziox, isn't Ziox like GM or something?
Hey, ding
I don't
dong.
know.
Dude, I'm about to
wait,
play with like.
did you guys know that
GMs.
XF3 is like top 500? Did you know that?
Oh,
Wait, is that his in-game name? I swear to God that I've seen that.
Maybe.
you know, Brock's won an
Usually-
Overwatch tournament at TwitchCon.
I did.
Amazing. Okay. And then Brax, obviously our esteemed guest. Have anything to shout out? What are you working on? Maybe a Twitch channel for them to follow or anything?
Yeah. Twitch.tv/Zajef77. Make sure to go follow.
True.
Real. Okay. I will probably not stream if I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm just way too busy, but I'll catch y'all another time.